Manser, do we see him on the air? Waiting on you. Cricket, cricket. Cricket, cricket.
Whoa.
Our tech guy's doing a great job here.
I don't think so.
Why don't you think so?
Wonderful start.
Do you actually not think so?
I don't see it's not popping up.
What do you mean it's not popping up? Now, why wouldn't it be popping up? Now you got me going to YouTube. This is live! We meant to do this. Manser, it's working right now. In fact, I'm watching it through my phone. Alright, well, I can't choose anybody better. Okay. Well, since I know it's working now, welcome to Star Wars The Rebel Fleet. This is a Duel of the Fates debate. What side would you take, the Empire or the Rebels? I am joined alongside my buddies. I can hear myself, Manser. Okay, we're good.
Go Rebels.
Okay, I'm joined today by our rogue leader, Matthew Twaska, our blue leader, Evan Medina, and our gold leader, Matthew Manser.
Wonderful.
And it is I, your red leader, Matthew Seidel. Alright guys, so as you know, we're picking sides today, Empire or Rebels. Let's start with the ever but so obvious rogue leader, Matthew Twaska.
Rebels.
Alright, blue leader.
Rebellion. Yeah, baby.
Gold leader.
Rebels.
Alright, and I myself am going to be the bad round one fight. This is so bad.
I've changed my speculation to the Boffin Spies. But they're their own separate entity, baby. I want to be with the Boffin Spy woman.
Alright, you just tell me. Okay. Alright,
Bitch.
tell me why you guys are going with the Rebels.
Because I'm not a Nazi? I don't know.
Okay, so you think the Empire are the Nazis?
They are.
Okay,
Yes.
you know, fair. That's fair to say, because George Lucas did model the Empire, well, their outfits after the Nazis, and maybe even you could say some of the speeches given and some of the dialogue spoken throughout the movies, definitely related back to some of Nazi propaganda. But I am going to say there are several reasons why we are not the Nazis, and the rebellion, the rebels are terrorists. They are what we call ISIS nowadays. That's right. Your beloved Luke Skywalker?
Created by the government?
I mean, you're getting pretty into that, but I mean, maybe. All right.
How so?
Okay, I'll tell you exactly how. All right. You ready for this? All right. Let me tell you why the Empire was much better than the Rebels. And there are a few good reasons here. One, they drove technology further. Okay? Think of all What?
How the hell does that make them better?
Because they were advancing technology. A destructive force
Like slaughtering people?
we were not slaughtering people. Only the people that need to be slaughtered. Let me just
Hold on.
tell that to Alderaan. Okay. Good point about Alderaan. Alderaan was one of the home bases for the terrorist group known as the Rebellion. What do you got to say to that?
You have to go in there and
Yeah, but you destroyed
you
destroyed a whole planet with innocent people on it, though.
There are innocent people, but that is one of the home bases for terrorists.
So you
So
don't
would
care.
you-
that-
Are you trying to
so you would
compare
just-
this to maybe like dropping the bombs on like Nagasaki and
Yeah,
Hiroshima?
it could be
at the
very
end of
closely
World War
compared.
II?
I think so. It mirrors history quite a bit, I
You
think.
didn't need to. And look what that's done to that place.
Dude, if we hadn't have done that, we would have World War II would have gone on for much longer.
Nah, they already had their surrender in there, but they didn't make it official, so we bombed the fuck out of them.
See, I mean, I didn't hear that in history class, but that's just me.
Well, of course you didn't.
I do
Yeah,
think there
awesome.
was a little bit of something different there, only because, like the Empire is simply looking for stolen Death Star plans, and they're basically using Alderaan as a way of trying to, you know, like interrogate Leia and make it so that she would fess up the truth, and then she lied and said they were on
Yeah,
Dantooine.
not to mention, yeah, she lied and told them they were on Dantooine. I mean, luckily our dudes are smart and know better than to blow up innocent Dantooine because, my God, you know, just imagine. We would have blown up. I know, I said that really gay, didn't I? My God. Anyway, yeah, no, there's no taking that one back. But yeah, we would have innocently blown up Dantooine if your main terrorist hadn't have gotten caught in her lie.
So how are we terrorists?
Okay, let's see here. Hold on one second. Let me go down my my list here. Okay. First off, the Empire only wants to bring order to the galaxy. That's one thing. That's one thing that makes you a terrorist because
Their order,
you are
no
striking.
other order.
No, it was order. That's all they ever wanted. All we ever wanted was order.
It was their way or the highway, buddy.
Yeah, and everything was going fine until your rebellion showed up.
It was basically a dictatorship.
Yeah.
It was not
Which never
exactly a
works.
dictatorship. I mean, there was a galactic senate.
Who was it run by?
It was, well, by a fair chancellor.
A fair chancellor.
Who, might I add, helped with the economy of the empire. By building things,
empire.
he created jobs such as the TIE fighter factories, or maybe even the Death Star is a huge example of how he boosted the economy.
Because that brought good to the world.
It was a station used to stop the terrorists.
And killing us.
You're making absolutely no sense.
It was created to take over the universe.
I mean, that's all a matter of perspective. I mean, I mean, I'm just saying it helped. Maybe it was built as a way to help keep order in the galaxy, but it was also built to help their economy by creating jobs.
The only thing
So-
that the Empire wanted was, to take over, and it was going to be their way, the highway. So just kind of like, I don't know. I just don't see how you could compare the two. How we're terrorists. We're just trying to, stop you guys.
Okay.
Make things right and not have
Yeah,
a dictatorship run the whole universe.
I mean, I'll give you this. We did build a Death Star. There's no two ways around that. But keep in mind, we were not the ones that called it a Death Star. You guys were the ones that called it the Death Star. I mean, just saying, it was strictly a battle station for us.
The name doesn't change anything.
It helps us a little bit. But okay, let's also keep in mind that the battle station that was used was only used in worst cases against terrorists, the rebellion. It was never used. You never saw it used to kill other innocent planets. Only the planets that were home to terrorists,
Yeah,
the
because they
rebels.
stopped it.
Because we blew it
They
up.
blew it up. What if they didn't blow it up?
We wouldn't have done anything.
How do you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go, off the record and say what could have happened. I'm simply stating what did happen. And what did happen was the Empire used the battle station, the Death Star, to simply stop terrorists from taking over the galaxy.
They're not really
At the end of the
trying
day, you have to keep in mind that the Chancellor was an elected official.
Yeah, and he used his dark power to get every bit of power he ever had.
I mean, okay. Well, if you want to talk about people abusing power, let's talk about the Jedi for a second. I mean, they weren't much better, if anything. They, in the end, let's see here. Mace Windu did not stick to following the Jedi Code.
How?
No, he didn't. He was human in that moment. Yeah.
And let's see here, what else? Not to mention, what about the creation of the Sith? Those were, a lot of the Sith were falling Jedi. Not that we have any association to Anakin Skywalker, but that's beyond the point. Well, I don't even know at this point. I'm just trying to say...
What does that prove?
That killing Jedi was good. That's what it was supposed to prove. If you brought that up.
Order 66 was a fantastic idea.
It was a great idea.
Slaughtered all those innocent kids.
Those were Jedi, just saying. Eventually they would have broken the code too, I bet.
Kids.
You're not worth anything to me.
Kids Smiths?
Yeah.
Okay, well, okay. Let's look at it this way. Let's move on a little bit. And this is just trying to add to the repertoire of Chancellor Palpatine. I will not use the word Emperor. That is the word you guys use. Okay. Chancellor Palpatine, unlike past chancellors, did not kill innocent aliens.
He didn't have to.
Why would he want to? I mean, he's a good guy.
Because if they said something different, they'd get thrown in jail.
But that goes for anybody. I mean,
Well, they
anybody
didn't
that
have a
speaks out
choice.
against someone like that.
Like a dictatorship.
No. I'm not saying like a dictatorship. I'm just saying at the end of the day, you guys were terrorists. Let's look at it this way.
How? Who do we kill?
How about everyone that worked on the Death Star just trying to do their job?
Yeah, but you guys are trying to take over the world, though. You see?
We were not trying to take over. Why would we have to take over the world if we already had the world? Or the galaxy. Why would I have to say world? Galaxy. We had the galaxy. We weren't going to do anything. Simply by being an elected official?
By slaughtering people?
I mean, we slaughtered the Jedi. And at the end of the day, it was for the good. They were breaking their own codes. They were not keepers of the peace at this point.
You could say that about
But couldn't
some
you
of them.
argue that the reason that they weren't keepers of the peace anymore was because of the corruption of Palpatine?
Well, maybe so, but I mean, even at the end of the day, corruption or not, the Sith have always been around. The Jedi were supposed to obtain that code regardless of the Sith tactics. I'm just saying, what's the point of having a code if they're not going to stick to it?
And your code
That's
was-
true, but I mean, I do feel like that code was really only established in the prequel movies anyway. Like I feel like the original goal of the Jedi that was originally written in was that they were peacekeepers more than they were about some strict code, you know?
Yeah, I have to agree with that one.
Okay, I'm sorry. What were you saying? My apologies. No, my apologies, really.
Their original vision was different from... In the original 3 movies, the vision of the Jedi is different from what it is in the prequels. Like, there was no code originally, I don't feel.
That's true. That can definitely be argued. Because, I mean, the Empire wasn't around at that point. I'll give you that. Can't disagree. Let's see here. Well, okay. Well, now that we've talked about my reasoning, why do you guys stand by the rebels?
Like I've said before, I mean, they're the Empire is very similar to the Nazis, and I don't think anybody thinks the Nazis were good. And it was basically a dictatorship of the whole universe. And nobody really had freedom, even if they
I mean,
emperors said they did.
I mean, there was order in the galaxy, and huge difference here between the Nazis and the Empire. We didn't have concentration camps. We didn't have a Holocaust. I mean, that's what the Nazis are primarily known for, their evil ways in that case. And the Empire never had anything like that.
Not yet.
But you could say that.
Man, so you can't say not yet.
Also, the Empire, even though this is post original trilogy, I mean, we can base off the Force Awakens that people were taken from their families to become stormtroopers after the end of Return of the Jedi. So,
Well, yeah, but I mean, we're talking about the Empire, not the First Order.
Yeah, but I mean, still, the First Order is a straight descendant
And
of the
a
Empire.
a foolish descendant. They are not accurate to what history was. That's the only thing I'm saying. I mean, you can't compare the two.
I think that's a very fair comparison, mainly because they literally are still stormtroopers. They literally are doing the same thing. They literally built the same type of base, like a Death Star.
Well, they're following old ideology of the Empire, but the Empire has no. It's not like they said, "Hey, First Order, here's our stuff. Follow in our footsteps."
So
I mean, not that we know of.
Following the
They're
Empire, but they just put their own twist on it, so it still is based
Well,
off the
yeah,
Empire.
they're making their own twist on it, but it's not the Empire. You still have to look at the fact that the Empire never had anything like concentration camps. I mean, at the end of the day, this is Empire versus Rebels. And I get what you're saying about the Nazis thing. I'll get it with the way they talk sometimes and maybe, what they wear, but at the end of the day, they did not have that main component that the Nazis did. And anybody they did ever take captive were usually rebellion, terrorists, trying to bring chaos into this galactic empire.
What about with Rebels in the beginning when the guy who got arrested for selling the fruit wrong?
What?
In the beginning of Rebels, like the first episode, when the guy gets arrested, or almost arrested.
I'm trying to remember. If I could remember exactly what happened in the episode, then we might have something.
They stole his fruit because he wasn't his cart was in the wrong spot or whatever.
Well, that's his fault. I mean, that's a civil matter, not a galactic empire matter. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a civil problem on Lothal.
Who was it run by?
Well, it is run by the Empire, but he may have been in the wrong spot. I mean, that's on him. At the end of the day, okay, sir, move your fruit stand. It's not like we're throwing him into the Holocaust or something.
Or Ezra's old friend guy, who he wouldn't sell his house, so they arrested him because he wouldn't do it.
Eminent domain, except a little more forceful. Happens sometimes. You gotta, crack a few eggs.
Because the guy didn't want to sell his house.
Crack a few shells to its eggs. I don't know. Yeah. Hey, it's still not the Holocaust. It's not necessarily.
Shitty.
It's not a nice thing. I'll give you that, but it's still no. I mean, me as a person, no, I wouldn't be okay with that.
Well, then why are you siding with them?
Because at the end of the day, what the Empire did for the overall good outweighs the bad, in my opinion.
Well, could you argue that Order 66 is nothing more than just a fucking protocol that the clones were created as foot soldiers of what was just a power-hungry individual who wanted... I mean, I think that's like dictatorship 101 right there, considering he literally just... All he had to say was Order 66, and then they turn on their who were once their superiors anyway. So it's almost as if, like, he literally, like... was shaking hands.
He did engineer the whole plot. He did, because he had a vision of the Galactic Empire. No doubt, he He did
Right,
set
and
up
that's
that whole thing.
dictatorship. That's
I
the
mean,
definition of dictatorship, as far as I'm concerned.
it definitely seems like a dictatorship, but I don't know. When it comes down to the Empire, it just feels like, in the end, he was doing it to a degree for a more overall good. No, okay, yes, he was doing it for himself partially, no doubt. Palpatine was no saint, no doubt. But the things he accomplished as Chancellor did partially outweigh the bad.
The technology thing. What else? What did he accomplish?
He built the economy, which you know,
was run for him.
Yep, but he did run the economy.
For him.
He produced one of the best Imperial navies. So his military,
Who were so
okay.
good, and they were so good that they couldn't even fucking hit any rebels, basically, at all.
That's a good point. I got nothing to say to that. They couldn't hit shit.
Even in space.
They couldn't hit shit. I think you got me on that one.
You can take that one off.
Yeah, you might as well at this point. I mean, technically,
is Palpatine an excellent, to like take us out of the like I'm arguing for this, you're arguing for that. Like, is Palpatine a great central villain? Yes, but because he's evil and purely evil in every way, shape, or form. Like that's why like taking that side is a tough bargain for anyone like myself, because I would honestly like love to be a part of like a rebellion who would overthrow what is otherwise an evil government that has no intentions of helping or furthering the people, but just to further and help one man, and everyone else is a servant of that one man, including Lord Vader, because even though Lord Vader was arguably the greatest Jedi and Sith Lord of all time, the Emperor, wanted Luke Skywalker to be the next protege. He wanted Luke to kill his father, overthrow him, and then join, just as his father had before. He wanted the same thing for that. And I feel like that is just, again, like that's why you would want to be on the Rebels. That's why, like, I think Luke Skywalker is always going to be the greatest character, because he exhibits some evil characteristics in Return of the Jedi when he shows his anger, like we all have in us, because we all do have evil within us. We all do have an aggressive and bad side to us, but yet he showed that the power of justice shone through at the end of the day, and even Anakin at the end of the day did the same, because he is the one who ended Emperor. So, like, I just think that it's very clear for me, at least, that the Rebels are superior.
Okay. Fair enough. I understand what you're saying with the Rebels being superior, but at the end of the day, I mean, would you not, if you were living in the Galactic Empire, say on a popular planet such as Coruscant or something like that, would you not see the Rebels as terrorists in a way?
Well, yeah. I mean, again, Luke Skywalker wants to join the Imperial Academy in the beginning of A New Hope, and that's a note that I feel like everyone always forgets.
It is.
So, I mean, that is an important aspect of A New Hope. Like, honestly, it's one of the most important aspects of A New Hope, because it shows you how much power they had. But all it simply takes is a rebellion to go against that. And I think that's what's always like interesting to me, is that you could akin that to real life, because if there were enough people who wanted to stand up against a corrupt government, they could definitely do it, but it's always strength in numbers. That's the only way that a rebellion ever works. And although they didn't have a huge amount of numbers, they had enough to a point where they were able to take down a seemingly impossible task.
Yep. No,
and that's why like being on that side is just so easy to feel, because when you're a 99 percenter or a middle class person or whatever, like you feel you can connect with that so much better. But I will admit, like, from a perspective point, like, you are gonna say, like, okay, like, this is the majority, and like, I need a job, I need a life, I need a career. Like, do you join the Imperial Academy? I mean, it's not actually easy to just simply say no. unless you knew a rebellion was already in place. Like I think it's fair to ask, because I'm being a little bit of a devil's advocate here. I do think it is fair to ask, like, if you didn't know there was already a rebellion in place, if you didn't know there was already people who were in the works of trying to eradicate this evil leader, would you have the guts to actually do it yourself, or would you just stand back and join the majority?
Well, I'll play a little devil's advocate with you. I mean, in all fairness, on most rebel bases, there are only 2,000 to 3,000 people, whereas the Empire had a total of 100 quadrillion beings. I mean,
Right.
When you look at it that way, it seems like an impossible feat, and the fact that you probably wouldn't know the rebellion probably exists.
Yeah.
But
unless you're Luke Skywalker and you just happen to be in the right place at the right time.
yeah, no, absolutely, you're right. But at the end of the day, I can't get past the idea that the rebels, in a way, still are just as cruel as the Empire, in a way, just because they destroyed the Death Star. I understand that it was going to blow up Yavin, but only to eliminate what the Empire considered terrorists. I just can't get past that.
But they could think anybody could be a terrorist to them. Anybody who didn't agree with their ways was a terrorist.
Well, no, that's not true, because Bail Organa was against them, and he, didn't get
But
killed
didn't
on the spot.
Say they couldn't, because if they did get rid of him, then it would raise suspicious eyes or whatever?
Well, I mean, wouldn't people already have suspicious eyes if they didn't agree with the Empire? To me, it sounds like only a select few had a problem with the Empire.
Because everybody else was afraid to have it.
Yep.
I mean,
Well, that's the whole thing about a revolution is, like, that's literally what I was trying to say when I was playing devil's advocate. Like, would that many people? That's why the rebel fleet is so small, because there was probably a lot of people, not only just who were fighting for the Imperials already, but who were just neutral, who might have liked to have rebelled against the Imperials, but they knew that they individually couldn't make that difference. So unless there's already a bunch of other people who are on that train, would you actually be the one to lead it, so to speak? Like, and I think a lot of people wouldn't really do that, and that I'm saying, like, in the Star Wars universe, and you could akin that to real life too. If there's a corrupt government and there's 500 million people in the country, and only 17 people are on board with you, you're not going to take 17 people and try to overthrow the government. It ain't going to happen, and you know that, and you're going to be too afraid of it. But there's probably about 200 million other people who might be on your side, but they're too afraid to join. And, like, there you go. I just think that could have been the reason why. And just as Alderaan was blown up by the Empire, and that could have been seen as, okay, well, they were trying to do something for a greater good. You could argue the same thing about the destruction of the Death Star. The rebels were doing that as a greater good. And, I mean, it's hard to argue that there were anywhere near as many innocent people on the Death Star as there were on Alderaan.
well, that's true. I mean, the Death Star was the size of a moon. Alderaan was the size of a planet, no doubt there. Let me ask you guys this much, and each of you come out with a reason here, because I at least want 3 reasons. What makes the Empire so evil to you? How about Gold Leader? You go first.
I think basically because they just go out and just kill a bunch of innocent people. They want world power, and I just don't.
I mean, what innocent people are they going and killing?
I'm just saying they go around killing people, even for no reason.
That's First Order.
But they still have, they're still kind of. I still consider them part of it. They're just a newer generation.
Well, they're not the Empire. The Empire was 30 years ago.
I understand that, but there's still stormtroopers involved and stuff.
It's still not the Empire.
Like
You
I
can
said,
say that
they go
about the government now. You can say the government was different 30 years ago, but it's still the U.S. government.
Yeah, but the thing is, the government in Force Awakens is the Republic. There's a difference. It's not. They're not the same. They're completely different.
It's still the same to the core is still the same. It doesn't really matter if there's a new name.
I don't think so. The First Order is a whole different group. Palpatine's not a
obviously
part
people
of
get
them.
old in age.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah,
When
people are
people
getting
die.
old in age, but there's my point is there's a huge difference between the First Order and the Empire.
Well,
So I mean,
and-
I
and
just want to know what innocent people we're killing.
you kill people on Alderaan for no reason. You kill
Okay,
innocent
there were
people on
those
that
innocent
planet.
people, but there were also a home base of a terrorist group.
Okay, so but you still gonna kill a bunch of innocent people? You just
Well, I mean,
earlier
for a
said
greater
there
good,
wasn't that many
yes.
rebels. There wasn't that many rebels anyway. There's only 200 of them around. But
Well,
you know, how many
2,000 to
people live in
3,000 on
Alderaan?
each base.
Well,
I'm just saying
though,
that's still I
the
mean,
whole
not for a whole
planet you just
planet,
blew
but
up. No, you blew up a whole planet. That's beside the point.
I mean,
One
yeah, we
base
did
is
blow
not
up a
gonna take an
planet, but
entire
it was
planet.
also the home
The
base
whole-
of a rebel group.
It doesn't. Okay, so
Rebel group or whatever in, I don't know, a random country, and America said, nope, I don't like that, and then they just blew up the whole country.
yeah.
Well, I mean, isn't
Then that's
that what
okay?
Donald Trump is planning to do anyway? And here I am voting for Bernie. I'm just saying. Anyway, you make a great point, Manser. I got to give you credit. You really you impressed me there. All right. What about you, Blue Leader?
What do I find so evil about the Empire?
Yeah. Try not to use Manser's reasoning if you could.
Well, what they stand for is exactly what any enemy power has ever stood for in the scheme of the United States of America. And as an American person, I'm always going to akin myself closer to what represents me versus what represents an enemy. And I understand that there is a history of United States doing hostile takeovers. That's basically how we became a country. So America is built on hypocrisy, but when it comes to modern day America, we've always been looked at ourselves as the heroes. It all does come down to perspective. Every nation looks at themselves as the good guys. That's a
Yep.
natural human thing. So obviously, like, you're gonna akin yourself to the heroes more likely than you are to the enemies. But they do share some similar characteristics to that of, say, Nazi Germany, that of, say, you could even say communist Russia to a certain extent. Especially Nazi Germany because of the dictatorship. But you could even say Italy with Mussolini. It just, they bring out characteristics of some of the worst world leaders that we've ever dealt with on planet Earth. And so if that's what they are akin to, you are naturally going to be more intrigued by the rebels, intrigued by the small numbers, intrigued by a story of heroes making a miracle type of comeback and being able to do something that seems impossible. We always love the underdog stories too. Like, this is kind of coming off to a different point. We all
Yeah, the
love an
David
underdog
versus
story.
Goliath thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That really is what that is, because they are the David, no question. Now, did they beat the Empire too easily, too many times? I think over the course of the Star Wars franchise, yes. But, like, for the purpose of just, say, like, A New Hope, it's a great story. So, for me, it's basically what it represents, and also the fact that we all love a David versus Goliath story, and we all can get behind the David part. And I really do like to akin it to how America could have its own, or any country could have its own revolution if there were enough people, and they just have to have enough people who would actually stand up.
All right. So let me just see if just to review, because you did say a lot just then. You believe the Empire is evil because it's a matter of perspective, correct?
Sure, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you know what? I can't disagree because perspective is a huge thing. It has a ton to do with it. As far as I'm concerned, it's an appropriate reason. So I give you credit for that. I mean, you gotta wonder though, if I mean, from the Empire's point of view, again, it's all a matter of perspective, as we just talked about.
Sure.
The Empire didn't see themselves as evil. They saw themselves as a government trying to keep the peace, long-term peace.
Right. I mean, you could argue that, like, somebody like Anakin, though, was brainwashed into believing that he was now not evil. Because, like, even at the end of Episode 3, he says, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. and some people think that's a really stupid line.
I actually think it
And in my
depicts a
opinion,
lot of truth.
yeah, in
Now,
my
now that we're
opinion,
talking about this,
in my opinion, I think it was a good line because it's accurate to how he was feeling. It might have sounded cheesy at the time, but like when you think about it, it's like, what would you say that would be so much less cheesy? You know, like we all just want to hear cool things. You know, I feel like that's all people are concerned about. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, like I mean, you could say that from either point of view, that's how it was. I just feel that when it comes to like natural human instinct, you're gonna be more akin to the rebels than you would be to the Empire because there was brainwashing that went into the Empire, and I mean, you could even say that the clones were programmed to potentially turn a completely different direction based off of just one command.
all right. I dig it. All right. Rogue Leader, what about you? Why is the Empire
Try
evil?
to find something new.
And
pretty
just so we're
much-
saying, we're sticking with the chronological what's canon thing, just so everyone knows. We're not going by EU standards.
Right. Like, I don't like dictatorships, and that's pretty much what they were. So, I mean, they did what was best for the Emperor, and what gained him power.
Well, not
And
I mean, I'm going to
care
argue
what
this
they
one a little
did.
bit. I'll let you talk. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm getting a little.
No, go on.
I'm just saying. I mean, he was elected. I mean, like any great politician ever, but also he had a galactic senate. I mean,
Do you really think they would have gone against him?
I mean, they had the right to. They're a senate.
Doesn't mean they have to if they know what's good for them, and they know what the Emperor can do.
I mean, at the end of the day, he's just an emperor. I mean, you know,
With an army.
Imperial
Was
Navy, but yeah. Okay, fair. Continue with where you were going.
No, that was pretty much it.
Just that they.
Can I just add though, when Vader's trying to convince Luke, he said come to the dark side at one point. I'm pretty sure. So,
Well, that's a matter of religion. Dark side, light side. That's religion. I'm just saying. That's a whole different topic.
Okay, but would you not say the dark side is kind of evil?
Yes, but that's a matter of religion.
Okay, but pretty much everyone in the Empire used the dark side.
Again, a matter of religion.
Yeah, like I mean, you could say like Islam is evil because insert dictator here believed in that. Oh, and like they bombed the U.S., so they're clearly evil. But like from their point of view, that's not an evil religion. Like, I mean, I'm not trying to like take sides. I'm just playing.
Well, that is
devil's
kind of the point of this
advocate.
anyway.
No, and like that's one point where like I agree. Like it all does come to perspective. That's basically part of what I was saying before. It kind of goes hand in hand with that. I think one good counterpoint could be that when Hitler was, and it's really like weird to talk about this in comparison to Star Wars, but like
That's kind of
Hitler
fun,
being
actually.
a leader, Hitler being a leader of Nazi Germany, he was always so well received because of the fact that he could speak well. That's why the people fell into his trap. It was because he was a speaker. And who else is a speaker but Palpatine? It's the same type of thing. It's manipulation. It's changing the minds and hearts of people.
Yeah, you could say that. Absolutely.
And because, I mean, Germany does not look back on that time as a positive one in their history at all. In fact, they like to forget that any of it ever happened. Rightfully so.
And that's also we have to say, I'd say that's all mainly because of the Holocaust too. I mean, if the Holocaust never happened, I feel like they never would have. They would have looked back on that time as not so bad. I don't know.
I don't know. I just think like the
It's a matter,
thirst
again.
for power is something. Yeah, I mean it's all like in whatever. Like anybody could see it however they want. But
Yeah, well,
I
that's
don't know.
that
I
is
think
the
like
point
basic human like tuition or intuition or whatever it is. Like I just feel like that it's never like guided that way. Like no one is born to think like, okay, I want this to be how things are. Like I feel like no one is born with that in their mind. Just like nobody is born to be racist No one is born to, like, I don't think any of those people were born with, Hitler included, were born with the natural instinct to think, okay, I want all the power in the world. Okay, you know, Jews are less than we are and all this other stuff. Like, to be perfect, you have to be blonde hair, blue-eyed. Like, all of that comes through the influence of another. And that's where, like, it's just so much so that Palpatine is a dictator. I think that's all just proof within that.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, I definitely, to be truthful with you guys, debate aside, I know the Empire is evil. I'm not saying I'm not gonna say they're not anymore, because I know where the line, at least from our perspective, again from the movie, the Empire is not evil, and I know that. But I figured because this was a debate, I'd take the opposite side, have some fun with it, and try and stand up for the side I believed was actually wrong. But at the end of the day, I mean, from the perspective of the Empire, rebels are terrorists, and from the perspective of the rebels, the Empire is a dictatorship, just like the Nazis were to us. And the Jews thought they were evil as well. And that's pretty much it. It's all a matter of opinion at the end of the day. Now, did anyone agree with anything I had to say about the good of the Empire? Anything at all?
Nope. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
not
have a hard
really.
time on any of it. Like, I
All
mean, you know,
right.
a couple of times I played devil's advocate. A couple of times I understood where you were coming from. And again, the perspective thing is always going to be your best argument, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely, and it worked for you as well. I mean, it
Yeah,
really
of
is all a
course, 'cause,
matter
like,
of perspective. It is.
Right, because that can fuel any argument there is.
But you need to be able to tell what's right from wrong. If you can't do that,
Right.
it's a serious problem.
And that's
Yeah.
why I was talking about the basic human intuition of, okay, like, I know that's not okay. Like, at the end of the day, killing and manipulating and beating and torturing people is never going to be all right in anyone's book.
And you're right. Absolutely not. Just because I stand by the Empire does not mean I agree with all their ideals. But I mean, yeah, fuck you. That's it. I'm blowing up your home planet.
You live
Anyway.
there, so go ahead.
You don't know that. Anyway, I think we've made this run way too long, but it was definitely a fun debate with you guys. This went better than our last one that didn't make it onto YouTube. So I think I am going to call it here. So for people that like what we're talking about and are interested in Star Wars, please follow at the Rebel Fleet on Twitter, and then if you could subscribe on YouTube as well. Yeah, hit that subscribe button. And yeah, this has been Star Wars: The Rebel Fleet, and you all have a good one.